Hello, this is Stephen Kim of Healthy Expressions. This is today, Fix It Friday. Today is December 10th, and I hope you are doing well. I'm here every Friday at noon. It's about, at the most, an hour to answer any questions that you may have. But if not, then, I usually go over a certain topic. Just it was funny. I got my booster shot, I think, a couple of days ago, and yesterday I was not feeling too well. And but today, woke up this morning. I feel like my old self again. So again, stay safe, be healthy. What I wanted to talk about today is 7 common warning signs of a toxic relationship. Now, let me be very clear. If you are in a toxic relationship now, that does not mean that the other person can change. I think they can. If they value the relationship, the marriage or relationship that they're in, they can change. Whatever that you care about the most and you value it to the point of not wanting to lose it, then you will do everything you can to make sure that relationship is intact. So, again, if you are in a toxic relationship, you shouldn't be in it. You should not be in a toxic relationship. I would only stay in it if you know and believe that the other person will change, will get rid of those toxic behaviors. Because every person deserves to be in a healthy, loving relationship, married, dating, living together, whatever it is. And so let me quote from this doctor, Dr. Lillian Glass. And this is, a long time ago in a book, Toxic People, 1995. She states any relationship between people who don't support each other, where there's conflict and one seeks to undermine the other, when there's competition, where there's disrespect and a lack of cohesiveness. Now, this is very important. You deserve to be in a healthy and loving relationship where the other person supports you, encourages you, makes you better. And I said earlier that if you are not in that type of relationship, but you have talked with that other person and that they're willing to change and that they're willing to start to get rid of those bad behaviors, then stay in that relationship. I tell all couples that I help out, especially marriages, do everything you can to stay in that relationship, to stay in that marriage. Everything you can. And the last resort is to break up or get a divorce. That's the last option. So do not break that glass before you pull down that lever. But if you're in a toxic relationship now, even if you're married, and that other person is not willing to change, then that person does not value you or that relationship and marriage. So what are these common signs of being in a toxic relationship, being with a toxic person? The first is controlling behavior. You realize that they always have to be in control. And more importantly, they have to be in control of you and your life. What you do, who you hang around with. And toxic relationships have an element of control. Does your partner always have to have everything their way? In a relationship or marriage, it's not 50-50, and that's what everyone assumes because they've heard that for years and decades, that a relationship or a marriage is 50-50. It's actually 100-100, that you love and support that other person 100%, and vice versa. Because if you say I'm only going to go halfway and you have to come the other half, well, sometimes the other person, they're not able to at that moment. So you in a healthy relationship must love them 100%. Now, that doesn't mean that you accept all their toxic behaviors. But again, if you know that they want to change, they realize that they have to do some changing, then you stay with them and you help them through that. But the first warning sign of being in a toxic relationship is they have to be in control. They have to be in control. And more importantly, because if you think about it, when someone is in control, they are in the center, right? They're in the center. Even in any relationship, even in a marriage, they are in the center. When you're in a relationship or marriage, both of you are in the center. Both of you are trying to make this work. But when you're in a toxic relationship or marriage, that one individual is in that center. Everything is about them. But in a healthy relationship, it should be should be about us. So that is the first sign of being in a toxic relationship. Controlling behavior. Who you can see. What you're going to do on your free time. The mentality should be in a committed relationship or marriage, us, us, us. Not me, me, me. The second trait is distrust. In your relationship or marriage, is there distrust? Do they have to check your phone every day for certain texts or emails? Do they check your social media consistently to make sure that you're not texting or talking with someone? Do they track you? When you say that you're going to visit a friend or a family member, do they drive by? In a toxic relationship or marriage, there is distrust. They can't trust you. And if you take a step back, that distrust stems from insecurity. Insecurity. They're not secure in themselves. They're not secure in their relationship or marriage. There's a lot of distrust. If you are in a relationship or marriage and that other person doesn't trust you, that's one of the main foundations of any relationship or marriage, trust. And if there isn't any trust, then that relationship or marriage is not going to last for a long time. So the first toxic behavior is controlling behavior. The second is there's distrust in the relationship or marriage. Number 3, justifying your partner's behavior. You know, when you're in this committed relationship and they have met your family or friends or coworkers, and it seems like every time you have to apologize for their rude actions or rude behavior or speech, that's a toxic relationship. The person that is with you, they should make you better, not worse. In a healthy relationship or marriage, the person that you are with should make you better, not worse. So if you're always apologizing to your family, coworkers, friends, that your boyfriend, girlfriend, your spouse said something or is acting like this a certain way, that is another sign that you're in a toxic relationship. Your family, your coworkers, your friends should be like, wow, you're lucky or blessed to be with that person. That's the third. Toxic behavior, justifying your partner's behavior. Number 4, if there is physical or emotional abuse, this is uncalled for. If they, and you know, I'll gladly admit, sometimes growing up both parents having bad tempers that's rubbed off on me. My temper used to be really bad, but over the years, you know, it's gotten better. Not perfect, but it's gotten better. And especially in marriage, it really pushes you to the limit. But I will never, ever physically harm my wife. I will not push her. I will not grab her. Or emotional abuse. If you're with someone and they're constantly putting you down, not encouraging you, not uplifting you, you're in a toxic relationship. So let me be very clear. If you're in a relationship where there's physical abuse, there's physical altercations on a consistent basis, you need to get out of that relationship or marriage. If you're in a relationship or marriage where there's emotional abuse, where you are constantly belittled, where you're constantly put down to make you feel very small. And again, like I said earlier, if they're willing to change, if they realize that they have some toxic behaviors and they need to change and they get help, fine, stick with them. But if they refuse to see the errors of their way, if they refuse to get help, then you need to get out of that relationship or even a marriage. In a marriage or in a relationship, you become this one entity. And if the other half of you continues to physically or emotionally hurt you, you need to get out of that relationship or marriage. That's the fourth toxic behavior. If you see that in your relationship or marriage, you need to get out of it. Fifth, and this is, I think some people, they don't see this as a toxic behavior. It's a passive-aggressive behavior. Right? A passive-aggressive behavior. Now, I'm talking, being married for about 23 years, we tend to do, honestly, we tend to do sometimes passive-aggressive behavior to the very minimal, very small amounts. But for instance, if you're supposed to pick them up from work, or you're supposed to pick them up at a train station from work, but you guys had a fight the night before or that morning, and you refuse to pick them up, that's a passive-aggressive behavior. That's to the full extent. Or, the other person does stuff like hide your car keys and you can't find them. That's a passive-aggressive behavior. If you said, I'm going to meet my friend at this time for lunch, and they hide your car keys, that's a huge issue. That's another indicator of being in a toxic relationship. Number 6, lying. And this is more of, does that other person consistently lie to you? Do they lie to you? Where they've been? Who they've been out to? They lie about taking money out of a joint bank account. Or how about, do you lie not to spend time with them? If you know this weekend that they're free, they don't have to work, they don't have anything, and they say, hey, let's do this, and you lie and say, well, I have to do these things, I don't have time, and you go out and you go to a bookstore or you go to Starbucks and you just sit there for a couple of hours to keep your sanity, that's another indicator of being in a toxic relationship or marriage. There needs to be honesty and truth. And that honesty and truth, sometimes it does sting a little. In a healthy relationship or marriage, There should be this active communication. And I said earlier that when you're in a healthy relationship or marriage, the other person is should be there to help you become a better person. Well, sometimes they do have criticisms. And sometimes they sting a little. But they do it in a way not to belittle you, not to look down upon you, but to help you become better. So is there consistent lying in your relationship? And the seventh and final toxic behavior in a relationship or marriage is there a scorecard? Is there tit for tat? Is it, you know what, again, I'm only going to do 50%, you have to do the other 50%. Like I said earlier, I got the booster shot the other day. Wasn't feeling too great yesterday. In my marriage, we made a deal a long time ago, probably like at first a couple years of our marriage. I don't like to cook. My wife cooks. She's a great cook. And so what I do to help is I always do the dishes. I clean up afterwards. But yesterday, I wasn't feeling too great. And there are some relationships or marriages, well, they'll keep the letter of the law. So if my wife, if we were in a toxic relationship, she would still say, well, you got to wash the dishes. I made dinner, but I'm not feeling well. Well, it's still. When you're in a healthy or loving relationship, you help each other, especially times when you're low, emotionally or physically, you're sick. They're there to take up the slack. And so my wife, she, even though she was tired, she didn't want to do it, but she did it. She not only made dinner, but she did the dishes. She cleaned up afterwards. You deserve to be in a healthy relationship. And to be honest, the majority of us, we grew up not having a not ideal or perfect example of marriage or relationship in our lives by seeing our parents or whoever. So we have to learn these new skills. So if you see some of these things, these toxic behaviors in your life, in your relationship, and you bring this up to the other person and the other person says, you know what, I want to change because I don't want to lose you. I want to keep this relationship lasting for decades, for a long time. Then I want you to contact me. Or if you don't like me, contact some relationship or marriage counselor, coach, therapist, whatever you want to call it, to help your relationship last a lifetime. Everyone deserves to be in a healthy, happy relationship or marriage. And a lot of times we don't know. We really don't know how to go about that. I'm here to help. So if you have any interest, go to healthyexpressions.online. That's healthyexpressions.online. That's my website. There's actually a free webinar on it, 10 Healthy Habits of a Healthy Relationship. I want you to take a look at it. But again, if you're in a toxic relationship, the only reason that you should stay in that relationship or marriage is if your partner, if the other person, your spouse says, I need to change. I want to get rid of these toxic behaviors. If that's the case, please reach out to me and I would love to help you out. So again, these are the 7 toxic behaviors of being in a toxic relationship. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope that you can learn and grow from these things. I'll be here every Friday from noon to maybe 12:30 or so to answer any questions. I just started, not a lot of people knowing about this. Slowly, hopefully over time, people will find out and will start to reach out. But I want you to have a great weekend. I want you to stay safe. If you are in a relationship or marriage, value them and value that relationship and tell them that you value them. And so I want you to have a great weekend, a great week, and I'll see you again next Friday. Bye now.